The galaxy was wide, filled with thousands of stars and countless worlds, yet one single name carried weight heavier than all. That name was humanity. Among the many alien empires, there were whispers. In dark rooms, leaders spoke with hushed voices. Commanders warned their soldiers. Traitors told frightening stories. The warning was always the same. Do not fight the humans. Even their regular soldiers are monsters. No one truly understood how humans came to be this way. They did not look dangerous at first glance. Compared to the armored bodies of the Tharkon warriors or the razor claws of the Zeeth, humans seemed fragile. Their skin could be pierced. Their bones could break. Their lifespans were short. By all logic, they should have been weak. But history told another truth. The first time the Galactic Empires met humans in battle, they thought it would be easy. A small human colony stood against an invasion force 3 times larger. The aliens expected victory within hours. Instead, the humans fought for weeks. They dug trenches, turned farming tools into weapons, and used every scrap of metal as armor. In the end, the colony fell. But the alien soldiers who returned were never the same. They spoke of humans who kept fighting even after losing limbs. They spoke of soldiers who fought with rocks and knives when their guns were empty. They spoke of human eyes, burning with something the galaxy did not know, refusal to surrender. That was the day the galaxy realized humans were different. Over time, the stories grew. Each war told the same tale. Empires that should have crushed humanity found themselves slowed, weakened, or even defeated. The humans did not stop. They did not retreat. A regular soldier of Earth fought with a will that terrified even the bravest alien warriors. It was not their weapons. Many alien species had stronger guns, faster ships, and deadlier machines. What humans had was something invisible, yet unbreakable. They had endurance, they had stubbornness, they had the burning fire of survival. One alien general once said, "Other species fight until it hurts. Humans fight until they cannot move, and then they still crawl forward." Because of this, humans earned a reputation. In the galactic councils, whenever war was discussed, one name silenced the room: Earth. Even mighty empires admitted that a war with humans was too costly. Yet there was something even more frightening than their victories. It was the fact that these were only their regular soldiers. Ordinary men and women, farmers' sons, workers' daughters, teachers, miners, builders, all wearing the same uniform. They were not born in special labs. They were not raised as weapons. They were everyday humans who carried rifles and fought with a courage that shook entire worlds. If regular humans could do this, then what about those they called special forces? The aliens whispered about them. Some believed they were myths. Others swore they had seen shadows on the battlefield, moving too fast to track, too quiet to detect. But no one could deny the truth. If humans could terrify the galaxy with only their regulars, the special forces must be far beyond imagination. And so, even before the special forces were seen, the galaxy already feared them. Because they had already seen what ordinary soldiers of Earth could do, and that was more than enough to haunt their dreams. Humanity never asked for fear. They fought for survival, for their homes, for their families. But in the cold silence of space, across hundreds of star systems, the same warning echoed. Pray you only face human civilians. Pray you only face their workers. Pray you only face their traders, because if you face their soldiers, even their regulars, you will not survive. The galaxy feared humanity's regular soldiers, and in the shadows of those whispers, a darker terror was waiting to be revealed: the special forces. Whispers traveled faster than ships. Across the galaxy, in smoky bars, crowded markets, and hidden military bases, one name was spoken with unease: human special forces. Most aliens had never seen them. Few believed they were real. But the stories refused to die. They spread like fire, told by trembling survivors, passed down from soldier to soldier, commander to commander. Some claimed these humans were shadows that could walk through walls. Others swore they could disappear into thin air and reappear behind enemy lines. A few even believed they were not human at all, but ghosts of dead soldiers, risen to fight again. The galaxy did not know the truth, and that made the fear worse. It always began the same way. An alien fleet would land on a human world. At first, the defenders were ordinary soldiers, brave, stubborn, and impossible to break. They held the line for as long as they could, buying time, bleeding the enemy. But then, when the battle reached its darkest point, the rumors began. A whisper on the radio, a coded message, a signal flickering across the battlefield. "They're coming." That was all. No name, no details. Just those two words. They're coming. For the alien invaders, it was the moment when their courage began to shake. Some alien soldiers told of strange things that happened before the special forces arrived. Weapons malfunctioned, supply crates vanished, and patrols disappeared without a sound. Entire squads went missing, their screams heard only once before silence fell. Others reported finding symbols carved into walls or burned into metal, marks no one could explain, warnings left like shadows in the dark. And then, without warning, the killing began. The survivors of these attacks rarely spoke clearly. They described shapes moving through the smoke, humans dressed in black, their faces hidden, their movements like hunting animals. They did not march in lines, they did not fire randomly. They struck with purpose, always at the weakest spot, always where it hurt the most. A commander of the Krath Empire once gave testimony before his council. His voice shook as he said, "We sent 500 soldiers into the tunnels. Only 20 returned. We never saw the enemy. We only saw our men fall, one by one, until there was nothing left but silence." The council laughed at him. They called him a coward. But later, when the same thing happened on another world, the laughter stopped. Rumors painted the special forces as more than human. Some said they could fight without sleep for days. Others swore their eyes glowed in the dark. Entire platoons believed they could hear human footsteps even when no one was there. But the truth was far more terrifying. These were not monsters. They were not ghosts. They were humans, trained to be something beyond fear. Soldiers who had pushed their bodies to the edge, broken their minds, and rebuilt them stronger. They were men and women who had chosen to become the sharpest blade Earth could forge. They were real, and they were coming. What made the galaxy tremble was not just the idea of their existence. It was the possibility that humanity had only shown a fraction of its strength. If regular humans could bleed entire empires, what would happen when their elite units took the field? One alien historian wrote, "The galaxy fears their armies, we fear their fleets, but what we fear most is the unknown. The special forces are the unknown." In quiet corners of space, alien leaders began making plans. Some wanted peace with Earth at any cost. Others wanted to destroy humanity before the special forces were unleashed in full. Yet no one dared move too quickly, because every rumor carried the same warning. You cannot stop what you cannot see. You cannot fight what you cannot understand. And you will never know when the special forces are already among you. The galaxy had already learned to fear ordinary human soldiers. But now, a shadow loomed larger. The fear of the unknown was always greater than the fear of the seen. And somewhere, on a battlefield that would soon be remembered in history, the special forces were preparing to step into the light. The galaxy had heard the whispers, stories of shadows, rumors of ghosts, warnings of human special forces. But until the day of the Outpost 47 siege, no alien had ever faced them directly. It began like many other battles. The Zorath Empire sent a fleet of warships to a small human colony, a mining world on the edge of explored space. Outpost 47 was not a fortress. It was nothing but a cluster of steel buildings, a landing pad, and a handful of defense turrets. The Zorath expected to take it in a single day. They sent 2,000 soldiers to face only 200 humans. By numbers, it should have been a quick victory. At first, it looked that way. The alien ships bombarded the defenses, turning the outer walls into burning wreckage. Human soldiers, regular men and women, took their positions in ruined trenches. They fought with discipline, but they were heavily outnumbered. Hours turned into a day, then into 2, then into 3. The humans refused to fall. The Zorath commander grew frustrated. Every time he pushed forward, the humans pushed back harder. They fought like wolves protecting their pack. They fought until their guns overheated, then switched to knives and explosives. They fought until their blood stained the dirt. But the aliens were many, and the humans were few. On the 4th night, the outpost was nearly overrun. Ammunition was running low. Medical tents were full. The end seemed certain. Then a coded message spread through the human radios. Just 3 words. "They are coming." The Zorath did not understand the meaning at first, but the humans did. The exhausted soldiers straightened their backs. The wounded smiled. The dying whispered those words with relief. The special forces had been deployed. The first sign came with silence. A Zorath patrol vanished, then another. At first, the commander thought it was desertion or an ambush. But when the patrols did not return, when their signals cut off mid-scream, the commander began to worry. Then came the lights. A power grid exploded. Supply depots caught fire. Ammunition stores detonated without warning. No enemy was seen. Only shadows in the smoke. By dawn, the Zorath commander realized he had lost 200 soldiers without firing a shot. When the attack finally came, it was not a charge. It was not a battle line. It was something else. The special forces moved like hunters in the night. They did not march. They flowed. Black armor, faces hidden, weapons silent. They struck fast, sharp, and vanished before the enemy could react. Zorath soldiers reported hearing whispers in the dark. Some swore they saw glowing eyes in the smoke. Others claimed they were dragged into shadows never to be seen again. For every human that appeared, 3 Zorath fell. The regular soldiers of Outpost 47 watched in awe. These were not the same kind of soldiers they were. The special forces fought with terrifying precision. 1 strike, 1 kill, no hesitation. A squad of 10 could do what an army of hundreds could not. A young human medic whispered, "They're not soldiers, they're predators." And in that moment, every human defender felt the shift. The battle was no longer about survival. It was about revenge. By the 2nd night, the Zorath army was collapsing. Their morale was shattered. Soldiers refused to patrol. Commanders barked orders, but no one wanted to step into the dark. They had come to crush a small human outpost. Instead, they found themselves hunted. One survivor later testified, "We never saw them. We only saw our men fall. They killed with bullets, with blades, with fire, with silence. They were everywhere and nowhere." When the sun rose on the 5th day, Outpost 47 still stood, burned, broken, but alive. The Zorath fleet retreated, leaving behind wreckage and bodies. The galaxy would remember this as the first true encounter with the Special Forces. And from that day, the rumors were no longer just whispers. They were history. They were real. The galaxy had feared humanity's regular soldiers. Now it had seen what their special forces could do, and the galaxy trembled. The galaxy had always feared the idea of special forces, but when they truly arrived on the battlefield, fear became something else: terror. They did not come with banners or war drums. There were no massive ships to announce their presence. No grand speeches or thunderous landings shook the earth. Instead, they came like shadows. A single transport ship slipped through the atmosphere of Outpost 47 during the darkest hour of the night. No lights, no signals. The alien fleet circling above did not even notice it. To the Zorath, the sky was quiet. To the humans below, hope had just landed. The ship touched the ground with no sound louder than a whisper. The hatch opened, and 12 figures stepped out. They did not look like heroes. Their armor was plain, black and gray, no shining metals, no bright colors. Their helmets covered their faces. To the tired human soldiers, they looked almost inhuman, like shadows given form. But the defenders cheered anyway, because they knew who these figures were. The special forces had arrived. The commander of the regular troops, bleeding from a wound on his arm, limped forward. "We're almost done here," he said bitterly. "We can't hold much longer." The lead figure of the special forces turned his head slowly. His voice, filtered through the helmet, was calm. "You've done enough. Rest now. We'll take it from here." It was not arrogance. It was not pride. It was simply fact. That night, the outpost fell silent. The special forces did not fight like an army. They did not form lines or dig trenches. They disappeared into the ruins, into the shadows, into the very earth itself. The Zorath soldiers, who had been celebrating their slow victory, suddenly felt something strange. The air was heavier. The silence was deeper. Every shadow looked like it was watching them. Then the killing began. A patrol vanished first, then another, then 3 more in a single hour. The Zorath commander sent reinforcements. They disappeared as well. Panic spread like fire. Soldiers refused to move into the dark. Commanders shouted, but their orders fell on deaf ears. Every alien could feel it. The hunters were here. One survivor described it years later. "They didn't fight us like soldiers. They hunted us like prey. One moment you were standing next to your comrade. The next moment he was gone. A knife in the dark, a shot without sound, a shadow that moved faster than you could blink. We were not in a battle. We were in a nightmare." The special forces worked with terrifying precision. They attacked supply lines first, cutting food and water. Then they destroyed communication towers, leaving the aliens blind. Then they struck commanders one by one, ripping the heart out of the army. By dawn, an entire regiment of the Zorath was gone. Not defeated, not captured. Gone. The regular human soldiers watched with awe. To them, the special forces looked less like men and more like living weapons. They moved without hesitation, without fear, without mercy. Where a normal soldier might panic, they were calm. Where others hesitated, they acted. One young soldier whispered, "They aren't here to fight. They're here to end it." The Zorath tried everything. They fired blindly into the night. They sent heavy armor to crush the ruins. They called in airstrikes. None of it worked. For every shell they dropped, another squad vanished. For every strike they ordered, a commander was found dead before morning. The aliens soon realized they were not facing an army. They were facing death itself, wearing the face of humanity. By the 3rd night, the Zorath army had collapsed. Soldiers deserted. Officers begged to retreat. Even the commander himself refused to leave his bunker. But it did not matter, because when the special forces arrived, there was no place safe. At sunrise, silence fell over Outpost 47. Smoke rose in the distance. The alien fleet, once so confident, had fled into the stars. The ground was littered with abandoned weapons, broken machines, and the bodies of those who had dared to face humanity's elite. The 12 figures walked back to their transport. They left without a word, just as silently as they had arrived. To the humans who survived, they were angels in armor. To the aliens who fled, they were nightmares made real. The galaxy had feared humanity's regular soldiers. Now it had witnessed the arrival of the special forces, and from that day forward, a single truth echoed across the stars. When the special forces come, the war is already over. The Zorath had come with pride. Their army was larger, their weapons were stronger, and their ships darkened the sky above Outpost 47. But now, they were no longer an army. They were prey. At first, the aliens still tried to fight like soldiers. They marched in squads, formed defensive walls, and tried to hold their ground. But the Special Forces were not fighting a war. They were hunting. A squad of Zorath soldiers crouched in the ruins of a burned building, weapons pointed at every shadow. One whispered, "If they come, we'll see them." But they never saw them. A muffled shot cracked. One alien fell, then another. The squad panicked, firing in every direction. By the time their magazines were empty, only one soldier remained alive, shaking, staring into the smoke. He swore he heard footsteps circling him. Then, silence. By dawn, the entire squad was gone. The Zorath commander tried to rally his forces. "Hold your positions!" he roared. "They are only 12!" But it didn't matter. The number didn't matter. Against the Special Forces, numbers were meaningless. They knew every weakness, every blind spot, every fear. They struck supply trucks, leaving soldiers hungry. They cut water tanks, leaving them thirsty. They placed traps that exploded at the perfect moment. One alien soldier screamed into his radio, "They are inside our camp! I saw them!" But when reinforcements arrived, there was nothing, only the soldier's body and a message carved into the wall. "We are watching." The human defenders of Outpost 47, though battered and broken, began to fight with new strength. They saw the terror in the alien army. They saw the way the Special Forces turned the battlefield upside down. For the first time in days, hope returned. A wounded soldier whispered, "We're not just surviving anymore. We're winning." The turning point came on the 6th night. The Zorath commander gathered his strongest troops, 500 soldiers, to launch one final push against the outpost. If he could crush the humans now, he thought, the Special Forces would be forced to retreat. The attack began at midnight. Explosions lit the night sky. Alien war cries echoed through the ruins. The ground shook under the charge of armored vehicles. But then, the world went dark. The Special Forces had cut the power grid. All lights failed at once. The battlefield turned black. Only the flashes of gunfire lit the ruins, and in that darkness, the hunters moved. The aliens charged forward, but they stumbled into traps. Mines buried in rubble, wires strung across alleys, explosives triggered from hidden spots. Panic erupted. Soldiers tripped, screamed, fired blindly. Vehicles rolled into ambushes, swallowed by fire. The Special Forces struck like lightning, silent shots, knives in the dark, grenades thrown from unseen hands. They moved too fast to follow, too precise to counter. An alien officer shouted orders, but before he finished speaking, a blade slit his throat. Another commander tried to regroup his men, but a bullet pierced his helmet from the shadows. The Zorath army fell apart. The humans in the outpost heard the chaos. They watched the night sky light up with fire. They listened to alien screams carried by the wind. And they knew the battle was turning. For days they had fought for survival. Now, for the first time, the enemy was the one afraid. By morning, the battlefield was unrecognizable. The ground was covered with burned vehicles, abandoned weapons, and the bodies of the fallen. The Zorath army, once so proud, had collapsed into retreat. Only a fraction of their soldiers survived, and those who did carried something worse than wounds: fear. They told stories of shadows that walked without sound, of glowing eyes in the smoke, of voices whispering in the dark. They told stories of death that struck faster than thought. The Special Forces had become more than soldiers. They were legends. When the sun rose, Outpost 47 still stood. The regular soldiers, exhausted but alive, stared at the 12 figures who had turned the tide of battle. None of them spoke. Words felt too small. The galaxy had learned a terrible truth. If regular human soldiers could not be broken, then the Special Forces could not be stopped. And the Zorath Empire, once so sure of victory, had just suffered a defeat they would never forget. News of Outpost 47 spread faster than light. At first, it was just whispers carried by frightened survivors. Then it became rumors in markets, taverns, and shipyards. Within weeks, it reached the halls of empires and the chambers of kings. The galaxy already feared human regular soldiers, but now they had proof of something worse. The special forces were real. On the capital world of the Zorath Empire, their high council gathered in silence. The survivors of the battle were brought in. They were broken men, eyes wide, voices shaking. One soldier stood before the throne of his emperor. His hands trembled as he spoke. They were not soldiers. They were predators. They did not fight us. They hunted us. The chamber fell into silence. The emperor, a ruler who had crushed entire worlds, leaned forward slowly. "You outnumbered them 10-1, he said coldly. The soldier dropped to his knees. "It did not matter, my lord. We never saw them. We never had a chance." Even the emperor did not answer. For the first time in generations, fear crept into his eyes. On distant worlds, alien civilians whispered in fear. Traders carried the tale from port to port, how 12 humans had broken an army of thousands, how shadows moved like wolves through the night, how the special forces left no survivors. In the great galactic markets, one warning spread like fire. Do not fight Earth. Do not fight humans. If you face their special forces, it is already too late. Not every empire wanted to believe. Some claimed it was exaggeration. Some said the Zorath were weak or that the humans had tricked them. But those voices grew quieter with every passing day. Because Outpost 47 was not the only story. More whispers came. Other battles, other vanishings, other armies that entered the dark and never returned. The galaxy began to panic. In the council chambers of the Veiled Dominion, generals argued loudly. "They are only 12 men," one shouted. "We cannot let rumors scare us." "Rumors?" another barked. "Entire fleets have retreated because of those 12 men. They crippled the Zorath army." "They are not men," a third whispered. "They are something else." The room fell silent. No one argued after that. Merchants and smugglers changed their routes to avoid human space. Pirates who once raided Earth colonies now turned elsewhere. Even warlords who ruled with iron fists began to hesitate. The galaxy did not want to admit it, but a new truth had taken hold. Humanity was untouchable. But the greatest fear did not come from what the special forces had done. It came from what they might do next. If 12 could shatter an army, what could 100 do? If one squad could bring down fleets, what would happen if Earth unleashed them all? No empire had the answer. And that uncertainty was worse than the truth. Back on Earth, the special forces did not celebrate. They did not ask for glory or recognition. They trained in silence, preparing for the next battle. But in the dark corners of the galaxy, alien leaders could not sleep. They imagined footsteps in the night. They imagined eyes watching them from the shadows. They imagined waking up to find the humans already there. For the first time in galactic history, empires that once ruled the stars with pride now feared the footsteps of a single species. The galaxy had learned what humanity was capable of, and now they waited in dread, because sooner or later the special forces would come again. The galaxy waited in fear. Outpost 47 was no longer just a battle. It had become a story, a legend, and a curse whispered in every star system. No empire could forget what had happened. No soldier could hear the words "special forces" without shivering. But Earth had been silent. Too silent. One night, above the Veiled Dominion capital, a massive ship appeared. It did not fire. It did not attack. It simply hung in orbit like a shadow. Panic broke out across the city below. Alarms screamed. Fleets scrambled to respond. But the humans did not move. Instead, a single transmission was sent. Across the galaxy, every channel, every frequency carried the same message. It was not long. It was not complicated. A human voice spoke in calm, steady words. You feared our regular soldiers. Now you fear the special forces. Remember this, humanity does not seek war. But if you bring war to us, if you threaten our people, we will answer. And when we answer, there will be nothing left. The message ended. The ship vanished into the dark, faster than light. The galaxy trembled. On the Zorath throne world, their emperor slammed his fist against the arm of his chair. "They threaten us all," he shouted. But no one answered him. Not a single general, not a single minister. For deep inside, they all knew the truth. He was not angry because of human arrogance. He was angry because he was afraid. In the Dominion Council, debates ended. Wars that had been planned for centuries were canceled. Fleets that were ready to strike suddenly held back. One Veil admiral whispered to another, "Do you not see? They gave us a choice. Fight and be destroyed. Leave them in peace and live." For once, the council agreed. They would not challenge Earth. On trade stations and border colonies, alien civilians told the tale again and again. Parents warned their children never to provoke humans. Merchants refused contracts that risked crossing human space. Pirates abandoned their raids, swearing they had seen shadows moving in the dark. Fear had become law. Back on Earth, the Special Forces continued to train in silence. They did not speak of glory. They did not boast of power. To them, the mission was simple: protect humanity, no matter the cost. They knew the galaxy was watching. They knew the galaxy feared them. But they did not care, because to the Special Forces, fear was not the goal. Survival was. In time, historians across the stars would write about this moment. They would call it the final warning, the day humanity told the galaxy one simple truth. We did not come to conquer. We came to endure. But if you force our hand, then you will see what true war means. For centuries afterward, no empire dared to test that warning. No ruler, no fleet, no warlord had the courage. The legend of the Special Forces grew larger than life. Some said they could vanish into shadows. Others claimed they could hear your thoughts before you spoke. Some even whispered they were not human at all, but something far worse. But the truth was far simpler and far more terrifying. They were human, and they were enough. And so, in a galaxy filled with empires and armies, with fleets that blotted out suns and weapons that shattered moons, one fact remained. The galaxy feared many things, but nothing was feared more than the day humanity finally decided to fight.